guys, welcome to the reading vlog for Roll of Reads and also Tales from Two Trails. I think these are going to be merged together. So I decided to do some vlogging because I'm trialing a new game that I'm going to play for this month just to see how it goes, and it's called TBR Detour. So I've done like a really rudimentary sketch of the game. Hopefully by the time I'm editing this I'll actually have done it on the computer, so I'll put it up here so you can see it a bit better. But essentially I've made a little game to play throughout the month to help choose my books, because I think I do work better when the order that I read books is randomized. If I don't do that, then I end up trying to read like 6-7 books at once, and then it's really slow progress and I'm kind of concentrating on so many different things. So yeah, I think it will help me to concentrate on 1 or 2 things at a time. So the goal is to always have 1 audiobook on the go and 1 physical read on the go. That's the aim. So I'm actually coming into this month already with an audiobook that will work for Tales from Two Trails, The Battle, and it will work for author with a surname of M, and that is A Man with One of Those Faces, I think it's called, and it's by, I'm going to pronounce his name wrong, but I think it's Queeve McDonald maybe? It's up there if I've got that wrong. But I'm listening to this and I think I've got about 4.5 hours left, and I need to have it done by Sunday because it's for a book club. So that is my current read, and that is going to count for the battle. I'm not going to go through the details of the board game here. I'm just going to start playing, and then hopefully we'll land on enough squares for you to kind of get an idea of what is going to be on the board. But also it's just a work in progress, so it might change. It's the 1st of March today, and yesterday just before I went to bed I decided to do my first roll. So I recorded me doing just a roll online because I was already in bed. So I'll put that up here, and as you can see I got a 1, so good start. We could be in for the long haul here. And we landed on TBR book. So this is to basically randomize my TBR books that are on my TBR for the month of March. And because I already have an audiobook going, it's just going to be from the books I want to read physically this month. And for those I think we had 5 of them, so I think in total there's about 7 or 8 books on my TBR for March, which is more than I usually read. Yeah, I was right, there are 5 books that I wanted to read physically, so I put them on a spinner wheel, so I put them up here. First of all we have Homegoing, that is purely for Tales from Two Trails, and then the rest are for Roll of Reads. So we have The Foundling, City of Brass, The Cat Who Saved Books, and In the Lives of Puppets as well. So I did the spinner wheel, and as you can see we got The Cat Who Saved Books. So let me grab that. So this is The Cat Who Saved Books. It's by Sasuke Natsukawa, and I don't massively know what it's about. I did briefly start it last night, but I only got 6 pages in. I started it after midnight and then very quickly fell asleep. But so far you're following a young boy, I think he's still at school, but I think teenager. His name is Rintaro, and he's just lost his grandfather, who he was very, very close to. I think he was living with him, and he has inherited his grandfather's bookshop. So as you first meet him, he's kind of, well, he's at his grandfather's funeral, which was sad, and now we've just cut to him being in the bookshop and someone coming in to buy the books. So yeah, very, very early days with this one. The prompt for Roll of Reads that I'm reading this for is gifted book, because not this Christmas just gone, but the Christmas before, I actually got gifted this in my Secret Santa, my family Secret Santa. So I don't actually know who gifted this to me. I still don't know, but someone did. And so yeah, I'm finally getting around to it, which is good. It's very short, so hopefully it shouldn't take me too long. I do plan on this evening having a cozy reading night, because one of the challenges for Team B and Team A actually in Tales from Two Trails is to do a cozy reading night. So I'm actually home alone this evening, and I thought that would be a really good opportunity to, yeah, sit down, do some reading, hopefully get through quite a bit of this. So yeah, off we go. Let's see how far I can get into this evening. Hey guys, definitely time for a check-in. So today is actually the 14th of March, so it's been a really long time, but yeah, unfortunately I got sick, so I just didn't want to be on camera because I wasn't feeling very well, but I have been reading, so I do have quite a lot of updates. So the very first thing that I finished was The Cat Who Saved Books, and this one I did end up really enjoying this actually. This book definitely surprised me in that it felt very fable-y. It was about this young boy, Rintaro, going on quests with this guy, Tiger the Tabby, and saving books and thinking about what books mean to us, how readers read, what is most important in that, and just kind of thinking about, yeah, like books and status and what we want from reading. And I found that part of it actually to be pretty interesting. And I say that because I think sometimes, well, I haven't read a lot of fable-y type books, but I feel like when you do read that type of story, there's a very strong moral to it, and you can't really disagree with it. You're like, yeah, people should be good, blah blah blah. And it's like, I haven't really come across anything that I could see that you could disagree with it. But in this, I do think that some of the arguments for better ways to be a reader, or like more accurate ways to be a reader, could actually be debated against. But I don't think that is like a bad thing for this book. I just think that was an interesting thing for me. But yeah, because of that, I think it would work really well as a book club book or something, because I think there's a lot of discussion that could come out of it. There could be a lot of arguments as to why some of these reasonings are not fair, perhaps. I don't know. Yeah, interesting. I think if you've read this book, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on it and thoughts on that aspect of the book. The other thing that this story is about Rintaro himself and him coming to terms with his new situation in life, the fact that he's just lost his grandfather, and he's always been a very insular person. He's been very like isolated, and it's about him kind of thinking about his situation with regard to his social situation, and if he wants to change anything about that, and how he can maybe get a bit more self-confidence in himself. And he gets time for some self-reflection and to really think about, like, maybe there might be things that he might want to change or not change. There were a couple of side characters in here that I really liked that had Rintaro's back, which I just enjoyed seeing. But for me, the absolute favourite character was the cat, which really surprised me, because going into a book where there's a talking cat, I'm always apprehensive because I'm like, what is this going to be like? But I loved this guy. He was so like sassy and very sharp-witted, and I actually laughed out loud quite a few times in this book, so I really enjoyed the cat the most. I can see why though some people maybe wouldn't like it. It's very bizarre, and there's a lot of situations where you're like, hey, what? Like, it's very kind of fantasy based in what happens, and maybe people don't like the fable-y kind of moralistic side of it as well. But for myself, I did enjoy the book overall, and I think the review I just gave made it sound like I'm going to give it like a 4-star or 5-star, but I'm going to give it a 3.5 star, I think. But yeah, maybe I should give it more, because the more I've sat with it, the more I think I did like it. So maybe I should give it a 4. Maybe I should just change my rating. Anyway, this was a success, so happy days for that. Okay, so because I finished this book, then that meant I got to roll again, and I got I'm checking my my notebook. I got another 1. I rolled a 1, and the next spot was mood read, but because I'm like sorting this out, I decided to change it to free choice off of my TBR. So I decided to choose The Foundling as the free choice off of my TBR because it's a book club book, so I definitely needed to get it done. So I thought I would choose this one next. This book, oh, what is this book on Roll of Reads TBR? Oh, this is for the prompt set in a place you've been before, because this is set in London. So yeah, I'll talk to you about that in a sec, because the next book that I finished was actually my audiobook, and that was A Man with One of Those Faces by Queeve McDonald. This I definitely had a bit of a mixed reaction to, because even though I did find the storyline really engaging, I quite liked the main character Paul, and it was very kind of fast-paced. It's a crime book set in Dublin. I was interested the whole time, and I was happy to listen to it in a way, but in another way, I didn't get on with the humour. It's written by Queeve McDonald, who is an Irish comedian. I've never seen any of his stand-up or anything like that. Yeah, I listened to the audiobook, and it was narrated by Morgan C. Jones, and I do think that person did a good enough job, but I don't know if Queeve McDonald had narrated it himself, if I would have enjoyed it more, because maybe the emphasis would have been slightly different on things. but I feel like some of the humour I felt was pretty stereotypical in places, and like sometimes even borderline a bit offensive. And I don't know, like it was a bit, I don't know, there were parts of it that didn't sit right with me, but it was kind of weird because there'd be parts where he'd be like, this is a sexist thing to think, and then kind of think it anyway. Like it was kind of said in a way that, yeah, this is like, acknowledging that what it was, but then doing it anyway. And then there were other parts in the book that felt similar and wasn't mentioned, and yeah, I don't know. So I didn't love that part of it personally. The humour just wasn't for me. I just didn't find it very funny. There was also this like character in the book that was a policeman who was like really violent, and I think you were supposed to be endeared by him, and I think especially at the end something happened and I was like, are we supposed to find this guy like nice, or are we supposed to be laughing at the violence and thinking it's funny? And I don't know, it just missed the mark with me, but that's probably personal choice. Like it just wasn't my type of humor. And the ending shocked me in a way that, I don't know, not in a necessarily very surprising way, but in a way that shifted the tone for me even more away from me finding the humor, if you know what I mean. You probably don't know what I mean, but if you read the book, you might know what I mean. But yeah, so unfortunately this was a bit of a miss for me, and I gave it 2.5 stars in the end. Even though the storyline was actually quite compelling and I was interested in what was going on the whole way, the actual like what was happening in the day-to-day parts of the story just didn't hit with me. That might be a weird thing to say, but that was how I felt about it. Okay, so because I finished A Man with One of These Faces, I rolled again, and this time I got a 3. And I landed on Tales from Two Trails TBR. And there's only one audiobook left on my Tales from Two Trails TBR that, I will be honest, at this stage, I'm not using it for this prompt anymore, but it was my official Tales from Two Trails TBR, and that's what I'm going to go with. I've actually decided it was supposed to be for the prompt multiple perspective. So I was originally going to use Last Argument of Kings by Joe Abercrombie for that. And I'm listening to this. I do have the book, but I am listening to it. And I was going to use it for that, but I don't think I'm going to finish it in time. And actually, The Foundling is multi-perspective, so this is my new book that I'm using for Tales from Two Trails. But that doesn't matter. I can switch whenever I want. But this is the book that I chose from this game to read for that prompt. Is that confusing? Maybe. So yeah, I'm currently listening to this now. Surprisingly really enjoying it. I was very apprehensive about this one because I didn't massively love the first two. This is the final book in the first Lore trilogy, but I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying being back with the characters. They're in different situations now, and I think I appreciate that. Yeah, I won't say any more than that, but yeah, I'm enjoying it. I think the narrator for this one is absolutely fantastic. Like, he does an amazing job. So I think if I was physically reading this, I wouldn't like it as much. So this is my current audiobook, and I probably won't be finished it for a while, but I do have one more audiobook on my list, and that is Pet. So I need to finish this before the end of the month to get to Pet. Moving swiftly on, it's a bit confusing going back and forth between physical and audiobooks, but I did finish The Foundling by Stacey Halls the other day, and I quite enjoyed this one. This is a historical fiction book about a young girl who has to give up her baby. So when you first meet her, her and her father are going to the Foundling Hospital, which apparently was a real hospital in London that took in babies for mothers that couldn't afford to have them and looked after them until they were ready to get them back. The only caveat to that is that if a woman wanted her baby back, she needed to save up the money that the hospital spent on looking after the child to buy them back, which is not ideal. So you meet Bess when she's going to take her child to this hospital. And yeah, this is on the back, so it's not a spoiler. I feel like it happened quite late in the book, but it's not a spoiler. But if you don't want to know anything about this book, skip on until I've stopped holding it up. But essentially, she leaves her daughter at the hospital, and then she spends 6 years saving to go and get her back. But then when she goes back to the hospital, the baby has been taken by somebody else. And you do get another perspective in this book. I don't really want to say too much because I did find reading this book, it was enjoyable, kind of being surprised about what was happening next. Although it wasn't that surprising. It wasn't that surprising, so maybe that's why I don't want to give anything away, because it wasn't really about that. You actually knew quite a lot more information than the characters did, but it was kind of watching it unfold that I found quite interesting. I did enjoy this one, I did. The only thing I didn't enjoy about it was the ending. I would change the ending, but yeah, I can't say what that is. So that's the one thing that I didn't like about this book. Okay, so I'd finished this one, so then I got to roll again. And so I rolled again, and I actually got a 6. So if you can see on my board, I have two different paths I can go down. So I can either go up to the cliff lookout point and risk falling off the cliff and down into like the river below, or I can just go via the river. So if I counted 6, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, basically I had the choice between landing on the edge of the cliff and falling down to the river and then landing on TBR book, or I had the choice of landing on the encounter square, because I could go down the path to the river as a little trip and then come back and land on an encounter square, which is quite fun. We haven't done one of those yet, but I just wanted a bit more control over my books, because if you land on an encounter square, then the idea is that I could have to read a non-TBR book. It's a bit of a chance. So I didn't want that, because I really wanted to get City of Brass on the TBR, or I could just go straight to the finish and get the game over and done with. I didn't want to do that because I'm trying out the game. So I decided to climb up the cliff and then end up standing on the edge and falling into the river because I just stacked it and fell. So I landed on TBR book, which was another spinner wheel. Actually, when I made that choice, I forgot and I thought, oh yeah, I get to choose a book, but no, it's the spinner wheel. It's the spinner wheel prompt. So I put my physical books back on, and this time I added the possibility principle to the wheel because that was another one of my TBR books I added later. And anyway, I got Homegoing by Yar Jassy, which is my Tales from Two Trails book, so I was very happy about that. I have started it. I'm going to stop talking now because I've been talking for ages and I need to go out. So yeah, I'll update you on this when I finish it, I guess. These are my current reads from the game so far. Really enjoying the audiobook, surprisingly, and I really enjoyed the first chapter of this, so I have good high hopes for this one. I will say though, before I go, I have actually made the decision to start City of Brass because this is the book I have to read for the read-along I'm hosting, so it needs to be done by the end of the month, and I just don't want to have to rush it. So I have allowed myself to read a chapter every now and then, just one chapter a day. I'm not allowed to read more than one chapter a day, but every now and then I can pick it up to read a chapter. So with this one, I am actually on 110, page 110. So I've read 5 chapters so far and I'm really enjoying this. But yeah, I'm hoping it comes up on this game soon because I just want to sit down and read it properly. Hey guys, actually, I'm just jumping back on because I think I might wrap this up here and then do it in 2 parts because I'm getting worried it's going to be quite long. I just spoke for a really long time. So yeah, I'm going to wrap this up. If you have any ideas about this game and the like prompts and stuff, so let me know because I'm hoping to like make it into a proper board, but I want to do it so I can make it accessible for you guys as well if you want to play. If you want to play, I don't know, it might not be that good, but yeah, so I've got like TBR book, which is like a spinner wheel. I've got the free choice off a TBR. I've got those encounter prompts, which will be like, you've got to do something. So I haven't come up with everything yet, but one of them is randomize a book on your TBR, and if it's more than 350 pages, you win. If it's less than 350 pages, you lose, and you have to read a book not on your TBR. I have book club square, not on your TBR squares, and that might be it for now. So yeah, let me know if you want me to add anything else to it, because yeah, and if you're interested in playing, let me know as well. But yeah, I'll make it available, and then if anyone ever does, then they do. But hopefully I will be able to create the board properly by the time the next video goes out. But for now, it just looks like this. All right, or this. Hope everyone's doing well. Let me know how you're going. Oh, and I do want to mention, if you are taking part in Tales from Two Trails or not, and you just want to see us chat about what we're reading, what the teams are reading for Tales from Two Trails, I do have a Discord now, so I will link that in the description. There's also a Discord for, I'm plugging everything. There's also a Discord for the City of Brass read along. I will link that down in the description too. And I'm going to wrap this up. See you later. Bye guys.